One more detail on this note. So you're brand new to teaching, you're subbing for a friend, you have this notorious class who's kind of being known as being disrespectful, and in a week, they're not being disrespectful anymore. How like, can you help us understand a little bit more of like how did you approach that? Like what was the first, like within the first maybe 10 minutes of being in front of those kids, like what did you do or what did you say or how did you act? Like, how did you do that?
Hello, I hope you are doing well. Welcome back to the channel. A few weeks ago, I did an interview with Moreland University. They posted on their YouTube channel, and I thought I should share the interview with you guys here on the channel. Let me know your thoughts about this interview in the comment section.
Okay, here we are with Front of the Class, real stories from real educators. With us today is David Wilson. And David, can you give us a little introduction of yourself, of where you're teaching, what country? How do you introduce yourself to other educators out there?
So I'm David. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I'm currently teaching at Jakarta, Indonesia, and I teach IB, DP Biology and ESS. And I also teach grade 10 and 7 science using the Australian curriculum. But the DP ESS and DP Biology is for grade 11 and 12 students.
Okay, perfect. And where are you from and what's your story of how you ended up teaching in Jakarta, Indonesia?
I'm from Ghana. I've been teaching for the past 13 years in Ghana. And then I moved from Ghana to Vietnam in July 2019. And then I just moved to Jakarta this year, January 2025.
Perfect. And can you share a little bit more about that background and growing up in Ghana and why you decided to pursue teaching internationally after teaching in your own country for a while?
So growing up in Ghana was a bit difficult, but this taught me a whole lot of things, how to persevere in so many things. But when in Ghana, when you complete your first degree, there's this 1 year compulsory national service. So during my national service, there was this friend of mine who was teaching back then, and he wanted somebody to cover for him because he was going to do a master's degree. So he invited me to cover for him, and I went to cover for him. He was teaching physics then, so I went to cover his physics classes in September 2011 to December 2011. And then within that period, the students were interested. They liked the way I taught. The headmaster back then also liked the way I taught. So in January 2012, I was given an official offer letter from the Ghana Education Service to be a full-time teacher in the Ghana Education Service. But when I was teaching, I realized that there are so many opportunities in international education. And there is this one Ghanaian journalist who used to work with BBC's, is late now. It's called Komladumo. He made a statement. He said, whatever you do, you think global standards and you operate at 100% capacity whenever you are given the opportunity. So I thought to myself, if I really want to teach, I should be able to emulate global standards so that I'll be able to teach in any part of the world. So I started researching about international teaching, what it takes to teach internationally. So I did some courses and I realized that teaching internationally, it can be more challenging, but it's more rewarding. The pay is relatively good compared to the pay of teachers back home in Ghana. Currently, my current school sponsors me and my family. I have a 2-year-old daughter. We are all here sponsored on the visas by the school. So these are some of the reasons why I just went into international teaching.
And can you, I'd love to go back to this beginning of teaching story. So there's this 1 year of national service. A friend of yours is getting his master's and he needs a sub. And so he asks you, have you ever taught before then? Like, what was your teaching experience? Did you just get thrown into a physics classroom? Like, did you even think about teaching before this? Like, how did that actually happen?
So I've always been thinking about teaching when I was in 3rd year in college, but physics wasn't the subject I was interested in. It was the worst subject. I got the worst grade in physics in high school. So somehow I hated physics. But after my first degree, when you go to university education, you get to know some nooks and crannies, get to know some things to teach at the secondary school level. So I just went to the class and then I just went with my personality. But during the college days, I used to do tutoring to my colleagues and they enjoyed it. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll be a teacher one day, but not physics. But I started teaching physics and I'm here today.
And was there a moment in that 1 year of kind of subbing physics, which was not the subject that you would have wanted to teach, where you thought, oh, this is fun and the students like me and I like this and maybe I should really do this full time? Was there a moment where that clicked and you like the whole life trajectory changed where you just decided I'm going to be a teacher now? Did it happen over time? Like how did that come about where you decided to teach after that subbing experience?
I think that happened after like 1 week.
Oh yeah? It was that fast?
Yeah, it was that fast because the first class I went into, they were noted to be notorious. They were noted to be students who were disrespectful to teachers.
Okay.
But somehow I had no disrespect from the class. They really liked me, and the news went around that it's really going, it's getting along very well with this class. And so I think it just hit me during the first week, the way I relate to the students. I think I'm able to read the minds of students and I'm able to relate to them with respect to life. And then I just deliver the content to them in a way that they'll be able to appreciate. So I think that's what I've been doing wherever I teach. And I get to connect with my students wherever I go.
Just one more detail on this note. So you're brand new to teaching, you're subbing for a friend, you have this notorious class who's kind of being known as being disrespectful, and in a week, they're not being disrespectful anymore. How can you help us understand a little bit more of like how did you approach that? Like what was the first, like within the first maybe 10 minutes of being in front of those kids, like what did you do or what did you say or how did you act? Like how did you do that?
So, the problem of most of the students in that particular class was proficiency in the English language. That was their problem. Physics wasn't their problem. So it is important as a teacher to understand and then just meet them where they are. So instead of using real English, I spoke a broken English, what we call pidgin English. And I made them understand that I'm just like their big brother, but I just know more than they do, and I'm here to help them using pidgin English. So when I did that, I think they realized that this guy is just here to help us. It's not like all the teachers who come around who keep shouting at us who don't understand our situation. This guy understands us. So let's just give him the respect he needs from us. So I think that's what did it. Getting to them in a language that they really understand, the pidgin English language.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And also, I'm guessing you brought this big, like energetic electric smile to the table that I'm seeing right now, that it's hard to believe that you don't have their best interest in mind. With that smile, and you see, I have a very patient, calming approach. Is that something you learned? Is that just kind of who you are, and it's just coming through in the classroom, or where like this calm approach and the big energetic smile that you have? Again, have you learned to cultivate that? Is that just who you are?
So I have a little brother. I know little brothers growing up, sometimes they could be stubborn. So I used to be very harsh on him. But whenever I'm harsh on him, it just becomes worse. So I had to change the approach. I started becoming very nice to him. I started speaking to him like somebody who understands him, and then made him understand that this he's been doing is not really right. So you should just stop this kind of behavior. And it just started working like magic. So I just started using that approach, being very kind, being very nice, being very gentle to my brother. So since it worked with him, I just took that approach, and wherever I go, I just use that approach.
And can you share a little bit more about, so your background in Ghana, you started teaching there, you hear this kind of inspirational person talk about, holding yourself to a higher standard or a global standard that could apply anywhere, and that you can take that to heart. Is it common for folks from Ghana to then go teach in Indonesia and these other places that you've taught in Vietnam? Is it rare? Like, can you help us understand what that looks like when you decide to just leave your home country? Is it common? Is it rare? Like, help us understand a little bit more for those of us who are maybe in the U.S. Who are wondering, like, does everybody do this, or are you like one of 10,000 people and it's super rare? Like, can you just help us understand a little bit of that transition and how common or not common it is?
It's really not common. That's why I took it upon myself to start doing videos on my TikTok and then YouTube. It's not very common. I think it is a personality that I personally cultivated. I think I learned this from my parents. My parents, they are all late. My dad was just a middle school leaver. After middle school, he didn't continue any education. He learned to be an electrician, and he was very persistent in his electrician job, and he used that to just raise 4 boys. My mom never entered any school, but he was really good when it comes to mathematics. So I learned this from them. My dad, perseverance and being consistent in what you do. And then my mom just being very positive. My mom was a very positive woman. You just have to tell her that this is possible. She doesn't have to know the details. She'll just give you all the support you need. So I took the positivity and the optimism from my mom and perseverance and being, consistent from my dad. So when I took it upon myself to go into international education, I knew there were some obstacles I needed to overcome. Getting some qualifications in education, getting some higher qualifications, doing some professional development courses. Because back then, when I started researching about this international education, when I read this job postings, I read the requirements and I realized that some of the requirements I didn't have. And it took money to get some of those requirements. Sometimes getting by money was difficult, but I needed to be perseverant because I knew that once you put in the work, I always tell people that whenever you are given 10 days to cut down a tree, it is important to use at least 7 of those days to sharpen your cutlass. So preparing is more important than actually doing the work, because once you prepare using 7 days to sharpen your cutlass, you can use less than 2 days to cut down that tree because you've already prepared. So going through all this professional development, converting money from Ghana cedis to US dollars to purchase courses online. It took a long time before I got my first international teaching job, but I knew that I was on the right path. And eventually I got my first international teaching job in Vietnam, July 2019.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And with all that 7 days of sharpening the axe, to then chop the tree down, or in this case, to be able to then go teach internationally in Vietnam and now in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So you've already done a lot of things that maybe you set out to do that were hard and rare. With all that said, still, what, if anything, is next? What are you looking forward to over the next maybe 3 months or 6 months or a year or even 5 years? Is there any other things you're going to learn? Certifications you want to earn, places that you want to teach? Like, what's next in this world of where you just keep being positive and you keep doing more and more things that maybe seem very rare? What, if anything, is next for you? What else do you want to do?
So when you look at many public schools in Ghana, they do not use EdTech a lot.
Okay.
So now I've decided to be making more EdTech videos on my YouTube. In fact, just a couple of days ago, I created a new YouTube channel called World Disaster Stories. I'll just be telling disaster stories using AI. It's a faceless YouTube channel. So I'll be posting those stories there, and I'll be using my main channel to teach people how I do these videos. And I'll be teaching them these EdTech tools because I believe that's the way forward. So in the long run or in the long term, this is what I plan to do. And then I'm planning to open a social media club in my school from next term. I'll teach them some ethical use of social media, how to, learn some of these skills, because I believe in this 21st century, in the future, like technology is just taking over everything. So we need to learn these skills to be able to be employable in the very near future. So that's the plan now. Educate people more on EdTech on my social media, and then just just be a teacher as long as I can.
Yep. And I'd love to transition now to some of your favorite stories that you've experienced in the classroom. And so anything strike you that's just a proudest moment that maybe you or your students or your school did, anything you look back on that still makes you smile and light up, of just like, oh, that was a really great moment that student had or that classroom had, or anything like that. So any proudest moments in the classroom that you can share?
So when I first came to Vietnam, the first school I taught at, I was the first teacher of color to have taught this group of students back then.
Okay.
And they had no experience being taught by a black teacher. So they were skeptical. They didn't know I knew how to teach. They didn't know I had mastery of the content that I was supposed to teach them. But within a very short time, they really got to understand me. They understood how I taught. But more importantly, we got closer because of my personality. I used to share my stories with them. The need to be perseverance. I always tell them that my goal as a teacher is to not force them to become teachers. If they become, will be good, but it's to show them the spirit of someone who is perseverance, who doesn't give up easily. So after the IGCSE exams in 2020, the first group of students that I, prepared to write the exams, there were 36. 18 got A star, about 8 got A's, and then a few got B's. It was like one of the best biology records in that school. And I was then the chess club mentor. So they posted my picture on the chess club page on Facebook. And one of the students wrote this comment: "Teacher David is the most positive person I have ever met." And that comment got more likes than any comment on that page. And I think that is the proudest moment. And whenever I think about this thing, I feel very proud, because for someone to come from where I'm from, to come inspire people who are like 11,500 kilometers away from where I was born, it means a lot to me. So that's like the proudest moment.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. And can you actually speak a little bit more of, so at that school, like you shared, you were the first black teacher of color to teach in that school, or in that grade. Can you share a little bit more of, like, what did it feel like to go to this country, to this school, where there's no one else like you? Like you're kind of the only person who's got your background, who's like you. Was that fun? Was it fun to kind of be the trailblazer? Was it maybe a little bit isolating of, no one is like me, no one maybe likes the same food or the same this as I do, and so like you feel lonely? Like how did that feel to be in that spot at that time, maybe in that very first year?
Prior to that, I've always been the preacher of someone who always tell people, always be different. Because once you are different, you have no competition. Always be different, because once you are different, you have no competition. I always tell people, never apologize for being different, because you never know who you inspire. So I always tell these students that just be different, because that's the only way you can stand out. I remember one of the students in that school, they once asked me, how do you feel if some of the Vietnamese staff members speak Vietnamese in the staff room and you do not understand? How do you feel? I'm like, that's their problem. I don't care. I don't have to worry about something I don't understand. There are so many worries in this world. Why do I have to bother myself with something which is probably not even about me, and something I don't understand? Why do I have to care about it? I don't care. So that is their problem. There are so many things to think about. So it is this positive spirit. The fact that somebody sees you and they be like, you are very different. You are not supposed to be here, but you are here, and you are still very happy. That alone means a lot. I always tell people, never apologize for being different. You never know who you inspire. So I never felt lonely. I never feel lonely wherever I find myself.
There's a lot of great wisdom in what you just said. So thank you for sharing that. And one thing with all this positivity, that you bring to the table, and that comment on the Facebook post, he's the most positive that he's the most positive teacher we've ever experienced or ever seen. Have you had any tough experiences, tough times, tough days, setbacks, a 6-month window, or maybe you thought you were going to get this job and it didn't come through and now you have to go work harder? I guess can you share maybe a little bit of, have you had any, I'm assuming you have you had some of these hard times, tough moments, like maybe you want to quit, and then how do you react in those moments? How do you keep going? Like, can you share anything that's happened to you that's been particularly hard or tough, and how you reacted to that and how you moved on?
First off, I don't believe in quitting. I always tell people, I always tell myself that I'm from a very humble background. I'm trying to make something better for myself and my future and my children. I've promised myself to give the kind of childhood I never received to my children. That is a promise I gave myself so many years ago, and I'm not backing down on that. And thankfully, I'm already doing that. So that is the spirit. It always kept me going. I always tell myself, if this doesn't happen, just go sleep. Tomorrow is another day. We go again tomorrow. It took me 6 years before I got my first international teaching job. I started applying for international teaching jobs from 2013, and it was in 2019 that I got the first job in Vietnam. It took me 6 years.
Do you remember how many places? Do you remember how many places you applied to? Like, would you apply to 5, 10, 50, 100?
Countless, more than 100. Countless.
So you heard no more than 100 times, and you just kept going.
Yeah. I always tell myself, I've had so many disappointments. It is not the next one that is going to make me quit. I've had so many of them, personally, professionally, financially, emotionally. I've had so many disappointments. So it's not the next no from a job that I applied to that is going to make me stop or quit. Never. So that's what keeps me going. So yeah, when I first got a job in Vietnam, the two schools I taught at in Vietnam, they were bilingual schools. They weren't real international schools. And I realized that to get opportunities in real international schools, you need to have teaching credentials or teaching licenses from these Western countries. So I got a US teacher license through Moreland University. Getting that is a bit daunting, but with the spirit that I have, even if it takes me 5 years to complete that, I will give myself 5 years to complete that, because like I told myself, I'm giving my future the kind of childhood I never received. So, yeah.
On that note, what are the types of things that you want to be able to do for your children that you didn't receive? And I ask this because you mentioned your father's an electrician, strong in math. It seemed like you got some good education from him. Your mother was at home, very positive. You got this positivity that you carry with you from her. So your parents are together. It seemed like you're in a house full of love. They're trying to provide for you. And you're doing great things right now. So like, I'm curious, what are some things that you want to be able to provide for your children that you feel like opportunities that maybe weren't there for you that you want to give to them?
So I'll just give you one example. It took me 32 years to be able to travel on my passport. 32 years to be able to travel on my passport for the first time from Ghana to Vietnam. My daughter turned 2 weeks ago, and she's lived in 3 countries already.
Yeah.
She was born in the Philippines, and we moved to Vietnam, and now we are here now. She's yet to visit her fatherland in Ghana. So just within 2 years, she's been able to travel around. And even though she's still young, it's an experience she will always look back on, because we take videos and pictures. These are memories she will always cherish. That is something I never had as a kid. And that is one opportunity I'm creating for my family right now.
Yeah.
So that's just one opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And obviously that's a whole nother, like, you're teaching internationally, not just single, where you can easily just move wherever you want to, but you're doing it with a family, with a child. So, kudos to you for, getting, again, just continuing to do things positively, and this growth mindset that you had of, like, you're just on a never ending quest to keep getting better and keep, continuing your mission of being a great teacher.
Thank you. Thank you.
And are there any things that you consistently do in the classroom that seem to work really well for you, and that maybe you're surprised other teachers don't do that thing or those things that you do? So is there anything that you consistently do in the classroom? It just works, and you're like, why don't more people do this?
I think probably many teachers elsewhere, they do it, but I just like to listen to the stupid answers from students, because I was that kind of student who used to give stupid answers, and sometimes these stupid answers turn up to be the very right answers. So I always want to find out their reasoning, why they say things they say, why they give out these funny answers.
Any examples of what these funny or stupid answers have been that you've said or you've heard students say that you're like, actually, that's not bad? Like, any examples that you can give?
So when I was in the university, we were doing a course, and then the lecturer asked, how do you know it's rained in a particular place within a very few period before you arrived? What tools will you use? And many of my classmates were mentioning some, instruments, this high class technology stuff. And I just raised my hands. I was like, just ask the local people. It's funny. You see, it's funny. But that was the right answer from the lecturer. It was like, that's actually the best answer. Just ask the local people.
Yeah.
Sometimes...
If you ask 10 people, did it rain 2 hours ago, and they all say yes, like, it's pretty sure it rained.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes the things you think will never happen, they happen just like that.
Yeah.
It happened to the Titanic, unsinkable ships. It sank. So you just have to just listen to whatever the student is saying, and then use that as a teachable moment, and it will just spark up so many, like, it just open their eyes in so many ways.
Yep, that is a great. Thank you for providing that. That is a great example, especially because your way of verifying if it rained costs $0. There's no cost.
Exactly.
You don't need some tool. You don't need some fancy tech. It costs $0.
Yeah,
probably more accurate for less cost. That was a fantastic answer. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Let's see here. As I go to some more like quick hitter kind of rapid fire type questions, and some that are helpful maybe for younger teachers or those maybe thinking about joining the profession. What's the number one piece of advice that you would give to a brand new teacher? Maybe they're about to teach their first class, or maybe what do you know now that you might go back and tell yourself before you're about to teach your first class? So any advice like that for new teachers of just the number one most important thing to keep in mind before they're about to go teach their first class?
I think every teacher, anyone in any profession should just strive to be better at what they do every day. People say practice makes man perfect, but I believe practice just brings progress. Always strive to be better than you were the previous day. And you don't just remain there. Try to market your skills. Try to market whatever you can do to people who really have value for the skills you have. When you do that, that is when you'll be seen. If not, nobody will see whatever you are capable of doing. So first, be very proficient at what you do, and then market your skills to the right people. So as a teacher, if possible, you can just show clips of you showing or teaching very complex concepts in the class, post it on social media like LinkedIn, professional social sites like LinkedIn, and then just use very good hashtags in education, like EdTech in education, simple explanation, or any hashtag related to education. Just post it out there. Somebody somewhere will see what you are doing, and they'll deem you as somebody who is very valuable, and that will create opportunities for you. So that's the advice I would give someone.
Perfect. And how do you kind of create your own progress? Do you at the end of every day maybe take your notebook of, hey, I did this today, this worked really well, do it again tomorrow, or I said this way today and the students didn't seem to get it, so maybe phrase it differently next time. Like how do you go about kind of creating that progress for yourself? Are you taking notes? Are you trying to figure out what the students are understanding, what they're not? When you're videoing yourself, are you maybe asking your fellow teachers of like, hey, what here did you like? What did you think was good? How could I have made it better? Like, how are you going about that? Because it's one thing to just do that. Like, you can just, there's a lot of teachers who are just doing teaching every day, but they're not necessarily trying to strive for getting better. So how do you go about that process of how are you getting better? How are you asking for feedback? Are you critiquing yourself? How do you go about doing that?
So I ask questions a lot.
Yep.
Whenever I make any video, or any tech or anything on social media, I always ask my viewers to just leave their questions in the comment section. I ask my students a lot of questions. Sometimes I go to class, I wouldn't teach for like 30 minutes, and then I'll ask them, the way I teach, the ways in which I used to, deliver the lessons to you guys. Which part of the ways do you like best? Which of these things do you think I should change? And it works. My students will always give me feedback. Teacher David, I think we have too much quizzes, so you should limit the number of quizzes. I'm like, got it. We'll limit the number of quizzes. Teacher David, I think everybody enjoyed doing a little research and presenting to the class, so we should be doing more of that. So when I find any appropriate topic, I just distribute the topics to students in different groups, they research and then present to the class. So I keep asking questions. I keep taking feedback from my students and my viewers, and I use that to improve myself every day.
Pretty simple, very simple advice right there. Hey, how do you get better at teaching your students? Maybe ask them what you do really well and ask them what could be better, and they'll probably tell you.
Yeah.
How do you approach day one of a new class? How do you approach, all new students? Maybe they don't know who you are. Maybe you've moved schools, and so really no one at the school knows much about you. How do you approach that day one with the students to set the tone and the expectations of your class with the students? And then maybe how, if at all, do you do that with parents in kind of a first parent meeting that you have as well? So how do you approach those early day one first meeting conversations?
I think with the parents, when you tackle the student aspect, it becomes very easy with the parents. So my focus is on the students every time, whenever I enter into any class. Luckily, I have some cool stuff about myself that will always endear students. I have a social media following, and when students hear the number of followers I have on TikTok, he's a cool teacher. I play football, and I have some clips of me scoring very wonderful goals. So I just use some of these clips in my intro slides. And then I just tell them about my life and share some of the interesting things. And then I just give them the opportunities to ask me any question without feeling judged by anyone in the class or by myself. And then I just tell them, throw at me any question, but just be respectful. And it works every time in all the classrooms that I taught at. It works every time. People see the goals that I score and they think I've played football professionally in the past. People see my social media and they want me to be part of their TikTok so that they also blow up on social media. So yeah, I think I have these tools and then these skills that comes in very handy for me. And apart from this, whenever I teach, I always seek for feedback from my students and try to improve, because most students think science is difficult. So if you make the lesson very interesting to them, it becomes very easy for them to ask you questions concerning the subject matter you are teaching. And it becomes very easy for you as a teacher to have a very conducive classroom environment. So that is what I do. So once that is catered for, the parents becomes very easy, because they are what's sent to the house very good news about the science teacher. We have this new science teacher. He's very famous in Ghana. He's very good at what he does. He plays football. He has 130,000 followers. So like the buzz just goes around even before you meet the parents.
Yeah.
So normally in most of my first parent-teacher meetings, parents just want to come and see me and say thank you for making their awards generating interest in science. So, yeah.
And what to you is the number one single best thing about this profession, education and teaching?
The opportunity to be part of people's lives. It's so touching. The last time I went to Ghana, when I was flying back to Vietnam, I had one student that I had taught back then who was one of the airport officials, those people who just take you through security check. He didn't make me join the line. I didn't join the queue. He took me through a VIP route and I went to the security. And it was so refreshing. I mean, to see an old student of yours who has gotten to where he is and he acknowledges the fact that you've been part of his career. So the opportunity to be part of people's lives all over the world. Currently, I have so many students back in Ghana, so many in Vietnam who are, in universities all over the world. And currently, my students now, they are from all over the world. So the opportunity to impact lives all over the world is something I think every teacher should be proud of, especially any teacher in international education.
And on the other side, what is the single worst or hardest thing about this profession? Or if there is a magic wand you could point and change one thing and make it better, where would you point that magic wand to make something in this education world a little bit better?
Oh, saying goodbye.
Ooh.
Whenever I'm leaving the school, I do get students to cry. Sometimes I do cry myself, but I do my crying in the rain. So saying goodbye is one of the most difficult things because I think I'm blessed. Wherever I go, I get to connect with my students. I get to connect with everybody around. So when I'm leaving, it's very difficult to say goodbye. So to me, that's the most difficult thing in this profession.
Any last words of wisdom to any teachers out there? Maybe something that's new that we haven't talked about yet that you want to say, or you want to share, or you want other teachers to hear, or maybe something that you've already said, but it's just so important that you want to just go say it one more time to end everything. So any new or repeated last words of wisdom to any teachers out there?
You should never apologize to be different because you never know who you inspire. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you so much, David, for sharing your story. We've got from roughhousing with your brother to learning that when you treat him a little rough, he treats you rough back. So changing your approach to be a little more kinder and a little softer and treating with respect and bringing that into the classroom where in your first teaching experience, you're a substitute. You're not even thinking about necessarily teaching. And in a week, boom, you take this tough, unruly classroom and all of a sudden they're great students, all thanks to you. To hearing no over 100 times to all these international schools you're applying at, and still just continuing on and until you get your first one, to be able to then go take your child and maybe future children on these international experiences with you to experience things that you didn't experience when you were that age. So, incredible story, inspirational. Thank you for your smile. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much, David, for sharing your story and for doing what you do.
Thanks, Spencer, for the opportunity. Thank you very much.